Now, next up, we have Nancy Jackson with us from the US State Department, who is a great friend of India. She's one person who does not need introduction, but then I think somebody who's been awarded many, many awards by the US government, very meritorious. But without further ado, Nancy Jackson, over to you, please.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kapoor, and thank you, Dr. Dasher, for having me here today. To my Government of India representatives and officials here and distinguished guests, it is truly my honor and privilege to be here this morning to talk to you about the US-India relationship. And before I do that, may I just say what an amazing speech that was. I'm very impressed. I took lots of notes. And it really does, I think, encapsulate how we see India and the future of India and the future of the US-India relationship. Our Secretary of State likes to say that the US-India relationship is one of the most consequential relationships we will have for the 21st century. And why is that? Well, let's start with what's currently happening. India is having a very busy 2023. The country has taken on the presidency of the G20 and will be hosting upwards of 200 meetings throughout the course of the year. The finance ministers will be meeting later this week. Foreign ministers will be meeting next week, and India's role on the global stage continues to grow. We all know it is the world's largest democracy, and by some accounts, it is now the world's most populous country. As we've heard, it is the world's 5th largest economy, and one of the fastest growing ones at that. All of this means for us that in the 21st century, India will play an essential role in building the open, inclusive, and prosperous world that we all want to live in. I wanted this morning to talk a little bit about the story of the US-India relationship, but frankly, there's so much we could talk about in that relationship. There's too much to highlight. We are changing the world through Silicon Valley and Bangalore tech startups, and I suspect that many of you in this room are part of that transformation. There's our cooperation in the Quad, as the CG referenced, the informal mechanism that convenes 4 like-minded democracies, India, Australia, Japan, and the United States, that are working together to bring tangible benefits to the Indo-Pacific. Together, we are showing what democracies, when they work together, can deliver to its people. For example, we're improving maritime domain awareness, which in turn helps crack down on illegal, unregulated fishing and drug trafficking. We are bolstering global health security, and we are mobilizing more effective humanitarian and disaster relief. Then there's our bilateral defense partnership, which is growing by the day. India conducted more joint military exercises with the United States over the past year than with any other country. So what's next for the US-India relationship? Well, I see 3 big areas for growth that I would like to highlight this morning. The first we've all been alluding to, which is we are just scratching the surface on trade. India-US bilateral trade in goods alone reached $113 billion in 2021. That's a new record. The United States is India's top trading partner and a very important source of foreign direct investment. As the CG already noted in his remarks, Boeing and Air India just announced an order for 220 aircraft, a historic deal that I think reflects the strength of the US-India economic relationship. As the CG noted from President Biden's remarks, that $34 billion deal will support over 1 million jobs in 44 states in the United States. And while these numbers are very impressive, they also deserve a little bit of context. India is only the United States' 9th largest trading partner, sandwiched between Taiwan and Vietnam in terms of total trade, and far behind Germany and Japan. Therefore, we see at the State Department a tremendous potential for increased bilateral trade with India. And increasing our cooperation in critical and emerging technologies could really unlock a new era in our bilateral trade relationship. Just last month, in January, our National Security Advisor, Jake Sullivan, and his Indian counterpart, Ajit Doval, led the inaugural meeting of the U.S.-India Initiative on Critical and Emerging Technologies, fondly known in the U.S. government as ICET, because we love acronyms. They launched a range of new bilateral initiatives to expand and deepen our technology partnership with India on everything from artificial intelligence, quantum technologies, space, and advanced wireless. It also includes development of a bilateral defense industrial cooperation roadmap to accelerate cooperation on joint development and production in India. Next month, our Commerce Secretary Raimondo will lead a delegation to India for the U.S.-India Commercial Dialogue. Concurrently, dozens of U.S. CEOs will join in the U.S.-India CEO Forum. These two events are focused on how we can capitalize on the political commitments made at the ICET and turn them into commercial deals to the benefit of both of our economies. Second, and what I think possibly is the most overlooked, our people-to-people ties. The connections between Indians and Americans are stronger than ever. Of course, our engagement with India is made possible by the deep personal connections that individuals share across our society, empowered by a diaspora community that is 4.5 million people strong and growing. The United States remains a destination of choice for Indians to find world-class educational, employment, and entrepreneurial opportunities, and our countries draw tremendous economic and cultural benefit from the brilliant Indians who come to our shores to realize these opportunities. India is now the second largest source of students in the United States, with over 250,000 Indians pursuing higher education in the U.S. today, 250,000 people. This helps our two countries develop solutions to global challenges and strengthens the bond between our societies. And we want these connections only to increase. This spring, we will host an inaugural meeting of the U.S.-India Bilateral Higher Education and Skills Working Group. The goal of this working group is to promote student and scholar mobility, to build people-to-people linkages between our two countries. And on this topic of bringing people together, I know that in recent months, visa applicants in India have encountered significant wait times for visa interviews to travel to the United States. I want to assure you that we take this issue very, very seriously. These visa appointment wait times have our full attention, and we are doing everything possible to shorten them and expand visa accessibility for the people of India. Third, a cross-cutting priority for the U.S.-India relationship is the empowerment of women and girls. From our efforts to expand higher education cooperation to efforts to accelerate bilateral trade and investment. And this priority flows from the very top. The Biden administration has made clear that the advancement of gender equality is critical to advancing U.S. national security interests around the world. It is a moral imperative, but it's also sound economic policy. Indeed, one study conducted before the pandemic highlighted that gender parity in the Indian economy could add $770 billion to India's GDP by 2025. That's astounding. Women's economic advancement spurs prosperity, enriches societies, and strengthens the bonds of friendship between our two nations. In December, Secretary of State Blinken, alongside officials from the White House, the State Department, and USAID, rolled out the United States' first ever strategy on global women's economic security. It's a roadmap for investing in women entrepreneurs, women-owned businesses and startups, and women and girls training and education. In India, among the many U.S. investments and initiatives supporting women's economic empowerment, we are working closely through the U.S.-India Alliance for Women's Economic Empowerment. This is a unique public-private partnership between the U.S. State Department, USISPF, USAID, and George Washington University that is working to catalyze the investments from its members, leaders in government, private sector, civil society, to accelerate women's entrepreneurship, employment, and access to education. I am very honored to serve as a member of the Alliance's Executive Committee. Last month, the Alliance hosted the first ever US-India Shatter Summit with Alliance member the Shatter Foundation. The event gathered more than 200 corporate executives and leaders in media, philanthropy, and civil society at the State Department in Washington, D.C., to identify practical ways to invest in and empower women and girls, generating jobs in both the U.S. and India. At the summit, we announced the first U.S.-India Collaborative for Women in STEM. Led by the U.S.-India Strategic Partnership Forum and chairs Radhika Shah and Tamina Madon, the initiative will work to bring corporations, nonprofits, and foundations together to accelerate investments in women's participation in the STEM economy. As one of the world's largest economies and a global leader in science and innovation, India is a critical part of the future of science, tech, industry, and the global economy. And we are thrilled to be working with Radhika and Tamina and the U.S.-India Strategic Partnership Forum to explore how to ensure that women are at the table to bring forward the critical technologies and innovations that can benefit the mutual prosperity of both of our peoples. Excuse me. In March last year, we launched the India Million Women Mentors Initiative alongside India's Minister of Women and Child Development, Irani. The initiative is designed to connect 1 million women and girls to mentors over the next 5 years. Right out of the gate, Google India pledged to mentor 1 million women entrepreneurs through its Women's Will initiative. Well, that inspired us to increase our target to reach 5 million women. And if you're interested in learning more about the Alliance and how you can collaborate with us, please let me or our Executive Director for the Alliance, Radhika Prabhu, who's here in the audience today, know. We would be thrilled to work with you together. Beyond the Alliance, we are deploying our public diplomacy professionals to mentor women-led early-stage ventures in India, from an idea on the back of a napkin to a fully functioning business. We are helping equip female entrepreneurs in India and broadly in South Asia with the digital skills needed to compete in the 21st century economy. And we are supporting women who have been disproportionately affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. As India has recognized with its women-led development agenda in the G20, women are critical for rapid and sustainable growth in India and anywhere in the world. Indeed, no country can succeed when half of its talent lacks resources, access, and opportunity. Only by including our women can we reach our goals in security, technology, trade, and any other endeavor. And so in conclusion, we really look forward to working with India to achieve our shared vision based on our shared values. And I personally look forward to hearing the conversations today and hearing on your perspectives of how we can accomplish that vision together. Thank you very much for your time.